This one's called You Can't Stop Rock and Roll! Baby, stand up and be counted.
All right, everybody. My next guest is the bassist for the legendary band Twisted Sister. He is also the co-founder of Area 22 Productions and host of his own show called 22 Now. Here he is, folks, the man himself, Mark the Animal Mendoza. Mark, how you doing, my friend? Yes.
There you go. It says strong on your shirt, right?
Yes, Strong Island, New York. This
Island.
Yes.
That's where we're from, Strong Island.
Yes, indeed.
How can I help you today, Mr. Silly?
I'm Dan Silly here, reporting live with Mr. Mark Mendoza, and I just wanted to kind of get into it because I am like rock and roll. You, like I said earlier, you've been a pioneer, a part of these pioneering movements, whether it's punk rock or heavy metal from the beginning, from the 70s and the early 80s, and then saw them through extremely successfully. What do you think about the scene, the current rock scene now? Because it feels like rock is fading from the mainstream, and I just want to know, like, from a pioneer, are you concerned about that?
What kind of statistics are you reading from? I don't know anything. All I know is we've had something going on for a little over a year now, and nothing's working out well.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
This is not a time to gather statistics about different types of music.
So you think COVID definitely shut down even like all industries, pretty much?
Everything. So I don't know. Are you like getting some magic numbers someplace? Are you just making them up in your head, or what are we doing here?
I read a few articles before asking you this, and about the state of rock and roll and stuff like that. And I think it's still, I want to see it come back. I'm a rock dude. Like I told you, I wrote for Circus Magazine, and I've been around. I've wrote for a lot of punk rock magazines as well. Good Times Magazine locally. I'm just worried that that it might have lost or be losing its luster on the mainstream. I think it still exists below mainstream, but I want to see it become what
I think one of the conditions to judge some of this stuff by is before we had COVID, the summer before, if you look at the attendance at all the monster festivals around the world, they're all at maximum capacity. So if you look at that and you can't count the last year or so, everything's doing just fine.
Yeah, I think there's definitely still demand for it, and I think from what I'm seeing is that a lot of the rock stuff is all we're listening to nostalgia rock. So we're still rocking out. Like Twisted Sister's still relevant today. Like people still rock. Like I told you, I'm playing it in stadiums, and people are enjoying it. My concern is new bands are emerging to the mainstream level. I'm talking about. I know they exist. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to see, like, on the radio, turn on pop radio and hear rock and roll.
Good luck. It never worked that way. Rock radio was pretty much governed by classic rock since classic rock was still here. I mean, it was always going like that. You always heard Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Steve Miller and a couple of popular songs by Black Sabbath, and it's classic rock. And TS has joined those ranks once we left the 80s. We're a classic rock band. So that's why when we were playing, we did all of our songs quite faithfully the way they were, that everybody remembered them. And we gave them what they wanted and, beat the hell out of the audience. And that's what we did.
Fuck the people who are trying to decide for us. Fuck the people who are trying to tell us how we should fucking live. Fuck those assholes. They will never stop us. They will never stop you. They will never stop heavy fucking metal. I can tell you that right now.
We used to play, D was the best quarterback in the business, and D had the best lineman in the business. And every night we played the Super Bowl, and we won.
And I always wonder with Pioneers, if you realized at the time, I'll say this for people watching that might not really understand it. You were part of two groundbreaking scenes in the beginning, like the punk rock era with the Dictators. And then, of course, the heavy metal movement of the 80s. At the time when do you realize that you're going through this historic musical movements, or what, like, do you remember what's going on in your mind then, or are you just rocking out?
When I joined the Dictators, I didn't realize, and this is not this is not a negative statement. I didn't know what I was getting into.
Right.
Because where I grew up and the music I listened to had nothing to do with that. I didn't even know that the CBGB's type music or that whole crowd existed. I joined the Dictators because someone said that I had to. A good friend of mine, a drummer that I was in a band with at the time, a club band, said, "You got to do this. This is going to be the start of your career." And when he gave me the album to learn, I thought it was a joke. Songs were played the way they were written. And I'm not making fun of the guys in the Dictators whatsoever. They're all very good friends of mine, but I didn't get it. Growing up on Mountain and Cactus and Hendrix and Cream and Humble Pie and Montrose and all these like real hardcore rock bands. And I didn't get that type of music or that type of playing. So, excuse me, when I auditioned for the Dictators, I went in and did what I do on bass. And of course, it wasn't what it is today, but it was still pretty aggressive bass playing. And didn't even realize until the band was established with me in it that the guys in the band changed the sound of the band because I joined the band. It wasn't really a punk band anymore. It became more of a rock band, with some punk flavoring in it. But I didn't realize it. And it was amazing. I look back now and I look back at the whole scene of what went on. There was the whole punk rock CBGB's Club 82, Max's Kansas City, and a few other places, even right outside the city, that they were into that whole scene. And then once you left basically around Manhattan, you went into the outer boroughs and the suburbs in every direction, the scene didn't exist and it was all rock music. Right. So I wasn't even clued into that before I got into it. So it was interesting when I first got exposed to it. I didn't understand it. I really didn't, but learned quite quickly. I picked things up real quick.
Yeah. So like that must have been, I mean, what's the first time? Do you remember the first time you walked into CBGB's and what you thought?
And the first time we played there, we headlined it. Well, let me go back a little bit and paint a little bit more of a picture. I auditioned for the Dictators, and the Dictators shared a huge room. I mean, really big room at the Brooklyn Navy Yard with Blue Oyster Cult because we were in the same management. So when I walked into this massive room with my bass and I saw a stage to my right that had Blue Oyster Cult's equipment with PA and lights, and they were getting ready for a world tour. And on the other end of the room, a smaller stage had all the Dictator stuff on it. And I said, okay, I guess I'm walking into the real time because these guys are managed by the same people, Perlman and Krugman, who managed Blue Oyster Cult at the time. So played the songs the way I played them, not the way they were played on the album. And I played 3 songs and they asked me to sit outside for a minute. I said, why don't you say you want to talk about me? Well, so, all right, I'll be outside. I'll have a cup of coffee. All right. Sit on the brick wall outside. And I did. And they said, listen, because of the way you play, we want to add some flavor and change the band up a little bit and turn it into a little bit more rock, a little bit more acceptable. 1, 2, 3, 4. because you remember at the time, punk rock wasn't that acceptable. It was New York, it was LA, it was San Francisco, maybe a little bit of Chicago, but it really wasn't an acceptable form of music in this country. And it had its roots in Europe in certain places too, because we were pretty big in Europe. But so I joined the band, and immediately we went out on tour with Blue Oyster Cult. Here I am in a tour bus touring the country, and this is great. This is great. But at the time, we would come home and we would play CBGBs. I don't know if you remember. I don't know, about 4 blocks north of where CBGBs was, there was another club called Great Gildersleeves. Did you remember that?
I heard of it. I was too young.
Okay.
That scene. Yeah.
So there was a club there, and it was a rock club. So whenever I would play CBGBs, I would, this is a whole nother story. I would put my equipment back in my car or my pickup truck that I had at the time, and I would park it around the corner. I guess you were never at the original CBGBs either, were you?
No, and I wish, man.
Okay, so it was the Bowery, and it wasn't a good neighborhood. It was a pretty rough place. And I would park my car around the corner with on this empty lot, this garbage-strewn lot, that all the bums were there, and I'd pay them and buy them a case of beer. Hey, watch this for me for the night. And they did. And I'd walk up to Gildersleeves and I'd go see rock bands, some amazing rock bands. So many that are, just never really went anywhere. There was a band called Fair Warning. This is way before Van Halen was around. And another band who I still talk to the singer, Serious Trixon and the Motor City Bad Boys. Well, they're not around anymore, but he still is, and he lives in LA, and I still talk to him occasionally. That was a rock band. Right, and that's the kind of music that I really liked. I didn't appreciate immediately what went on in the CBGB scene, and between that and Club 82 and things, it was just too weird for me. But again, once I was exposed to it for a while, I realized that it was another great form of music. I just didn't catch up to it right away. So I don't want anybody out there to think that I don't like the scene or didn't like it. But it was a crazy time. It really was.
It's really cool that you were, a part of that scene. And you must have been some stuff that you took from that scene and brought it over into the heavy metal. But just to be around, were you around there and with the beginnings with the Ramones and all those bands that played there, or were you before then? I'm just trying to get the timeline of when you were starting to rock out at CBGBs.
Let's see. The Ramones were already formed, and we had played with them a bunch of times at CBGBs, whether they opened up for us or we opened up for them. So the exact timeline, I'm not sure of. I joined the Dictators in the fall of 70, or the end of the summer of 75, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 74 or 75. And I was in the Dictators for about almost 3 years.
That's cool, man.
If you want to try that timeline, maybe you can. But the Ramones were already formed. The Dictators were actually around much earlier, probably around 72, I think they started, 71 or 72. And it wasn't the band as you saw it when it was big. It was some different members, but I don't remember the whole history of it all. But yeah, it was interesting. Again, I'm going to just go back to the original thing. It was interesting seeing, Talking Heads and Blondie and everybody that came out of that scene before anybody knew who they were.
Right. Yeah.
Really, nobody knew who those bands and names were at the time. So, and you name it, I've seen them, and now I really appreciate it. Because it's such a tremendous part of history, tremendous history for music itself. A lot of amazing artists came out of that scene.
Yeah, because that's when I was asking you earlier, is like when you're in that scene and you're in that time period and you're playing, the Dictators and and you're kind of new to it all. Did you have the wherewithal, I guess, to realize, hey, this is something that's going to be history? Or is it just, hey, I'm just rocking out and this?
No, it took a while because, like I said, I couldn't immediately digest what was going on there because it wasn't the type of music that I grew up on, rock music.
Right.
I grew up on. Even at the time, my parents were a big influence on my music likes, and they were big into big band era and swing, and my father liked, and my mom both liked some jazz. And to me, at the time when I was that young, it was 50s music. There was nothing better than listening to Little Richard and Chuck Berry, and you name it, everybody from the time, early Elvis Presley, all of them. You can mention 30 or 40 artists from that time that were just freaking incredibly amazing. And that's what I grew up on. So and then came, Cream, like I said, Cream and Mountain and Hendrix and Montrose and Humble Pie, early ZZ Top. So what I grew up on, I was never exposed to that until I was actually playing in it. When I walked into CB's for the first time and played there, I couldn't believe the bands that were on before us. I couldn't understand it. I didn't get the crowd. I didn't get the people that went there. And believe me, I'm not putting anybody down, but it took a while for me to digest it, realizing that, I didn't grow up listening to this, but it is going to have a serious impact on the music industry. And it still does till today.
Yeah. And that's so cool that you had that kind of like, almost like a fish out of water way of discovering this genre while you were actively playing in it. It was almost like building the plane while you're flying it type of a deal. You know what I'm saying? So you were like learning about the punk rock scene while you're actually on stage rocking out and rocking.
I don't know anybody who's able to build an airplane while they're flying it.
Yeah, that's the metaphor. But no, that's cool. And then did you take any of the stuff that you learned from there, any of the kind of edge or grit from punk and bring that over into Twisted?
I didn't think about it. It did happen as a couple of the guys in TS, like D and JJ, talking about when I joined the band. When I joined Twisted Sister, I was already a fan of TS's. Whenever I was home on tour, I'd go out and see them play, and these guys were rocking the hell out of everything.
If you like what we're doing, show us you like what we're doing, motherfucker.
But they weren't really that heavy and plow ahead rock yet. So when they asked me to play bass one day, and that's a whole nother story, they asked me to play bass. When I joined the band, I just did what I do when I play bass. I didn't say I got to change anything, I got to do something different. And all of a sudden, when these guys, when TS was playing things like David Bowie, and not that I don't like David Bowie, I do, I like it all, but they all dropped the softer stuff, and we went after, besides our originals, we started playing Judas Priest and Van Halen and AC/DC and Ronnie James Dio stuff and Black Sabbath and everything along those lines, because for some reason I added like 500 pounds worth of balls to the band.
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So I at the time, I still don't think about what I do. For me, it's like, if you could tell a bumblebee that it couldn't fly, then I wouldn't fly. But I don't think about what I do. It just happens. That's all. It's just like I would have. I left before I got there.
Right. Exactly, man.
Don't ask me about that one. It makes sense to me. But yeah, I just, when it comes time to play bass for the bands that I'm in, whether it was the couple of club bands I was in before the Dictators, I just did what I do, and it happens to work out that way. And it seems like any drummer I play with hits the drums harder when I play.
Yeah,
you want to keep up with me, you better start banging those drums.
Well, I can see you bringing that out of people. Yeah, you have that persona where you better hold up.
So I'm playing for someone else. Like I've done quite a bit of studio work, and I've played country and I played jazz. in that kind of thing, I have to really think about what I'm doing because it's not rock music.
Right.
Form of rock music. So, but I still playing jazz. Everybody says, well, you're the heaviest jazz player I've ever seen. So, or ever witnessed or heard.
Right on.
Did I get it right, Stephen? There you go.
You definitely, you're a big dude. You got the alpha vibe going on. Did you and D, because D seems the same way, do you guys bump heads, or how do you deal with that? Because sometimes a bass player is kind of in the back and not in the front, and you seem alpha. How do you work that out?
Anybody wants to bump heads with me is going to lose. There's no problems between me and D. There's none.
No, I'm just saying, like you both seem like alpha males. I was just curious. And
the whole band is alpha males. There's no.
Yeah, that's a good.
The Twisted Sister. Even without AJ there, God rest his soul. But even Mike Portnoy, there's no wimpy people in Twisted Sister. There's nobody who's laid back. I mean. As the band has been described as a lot of things, having nothing to do with us playing on our music, but everybody who's got exposed to us, crews or guys on the crew or people in other bands, TS is a rough crowd to hang around with. Okay. When around us, you're going to be verbally, mentally, and physically abused. Okay. And it's just not pleasant. So don't go after it. It's just not, you just don't want to deal with it. So it's a rough crowd. It really is. It's a lot of fun. Some of the most fun in my life in a situation with a bunch of people. We laughed a lot, man.
Right on, man. Yeah. Even when I was a little kid, man, I used to rock out to those songs, and you can kind of ride the wave of that kind of empowerment. Like, we're not going to take it. And all, I mean, name a song that they all kind of have a little ass kicking vibe going on with those. The songwriting process must have been a blast.
TS, especially in our early days when I joined the band, kind of quickly morphed into more of a heavy metal, rocking ahead, pound the hell out of you band. And that's pretty much how we were through the 80s. Even that we did different types of albums, Come Out and Play and Love Is for Suckers. But when we got back together and started touring again in 2003, it was definitely, a massive anvil, a massive hammer coming down on people. I mean, we decimated audiences. We took them from an audience and turned them into fanatics. They would have done anything that D asked them or told them to do, which they did. He would tell them all jumping down, up and down, and bark like a dog, and you'd see 100,000 people jumping up and down and barking like a dog. I mean, he had to do everything. Oh yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
Man. Music obviously has been very good to you. It's provided you with all of money, fame, travel the world.
Very good to me. Music been very, very good to me.
Yes. There anything when you look back at your career now, all these years later, is there anything that you wish you did differently, or that you wish you savored the moment more, or any regrets when you look back?
No, I wish I savored everything more. You don't realize it it goes past so quickly, and you look back and 40 years passed. It's the only thing for me is I never did drugs, I never drank, I never smoked cigarettes even. So I remember most of it. Or at least somebody's got to kick me in the back of the head to jog my memory a little bit.
I also want to say too, I think rock and roll is the fountain of youth. I mean, what are you, early 60s? And look at you. You look amazing. Like, I'm going to be 50 this year, and I wouldn't mess with you. You'll probably kick my ass. So you look like you just look great. And what do you attribute that to?
I'll toss you around like a sack. I don't know. Rock and roll keep me young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do it. I still love it. And matter of fact, I was in the middle of doing some bass tracks for a few things, and that's why my equipment's still sitting on the table here. I didn't want to move it all out of the way. I usually don't have it up here when I'm doing shows, but I don't want to rip all the wires out and move the thing out of the way. So you have to suffer looking at my pedal board.
No, that's cool. Yeah, that's always cool to see that stuff and
It's
see.
so complicated, I can land a space shuttle with it.
land the new space shuttle on Mars, and also rock the house while you can. That's what they should do. Put some speakers up there in Mars, along with that helicopter they got flying around up there.
Yeah, the problem is that the air is too thin to move sound waves around. So you won't hear much.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's a good point. See, there's no off switch on the Genius machine.
There you go.
You're worthless and weak. You do nothing. You are nothing. You sit in here all day and play that sick, repulsive, electric twanger. I carried an M16 and you carry that guitar. Who are you? Where do you come from? Are you listening to me?
Shut the hell up! Shut up! Damn it! He won't say it, I will. Shut your ass up, man, before I kick you in the damn nuts. Get out of this damn room. I'm trying to play the guitar. Better my future. Who does this guy think he is?
There's a whole new generation that's starting to discover Twisted Sister through these reaction videos. I don't know if you ever watched these reaction videos, but it's kids that watch, like, We're Not Gonna Take It video or I Want to Rock, and then you can see them reacting to it, and it's all been really positive stuff.
I like that. He said, man, you just being condescending. We don't want nothing from you. We just want to rock. That's it. We just want to goddamn rock. That's it. Leave me alone. We ain't gonna take it no more. Get up off me.
So I think that's cool that it's kind of like the torch is still burning and people are discovering you guys all the time thanks to the internet.
What's a video? No, I've seen a few of them, and it's interesting that you get people as widely known, and the fact that not only has especially We're Not Gonna Take It, I Want to Rock, been so accepted and so tremendous in the music world. It's used in movies and commercials and everything. So it's kind of strange that you find someone who has never heard the songs before and doesn't know what Twisted Effing Sister is.
That was Twisted Sister. And the name of the song is We're Not Gonna Take It. No! We ain't gonna take it. God damn it.
SpongeBob, Gooby Gooba Rock is using I Want to Rock, right?
Well, all I gotta say when you tell me not to play us in a way. No, right, no,
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and even Cobra Kai had D on there.
Absolutely.
That's D. Snyder, most badass rocker ever.
What I think is cool is that people continuously rediscover what you guys did, and your music is timeless, where people still rock out to it. And when you watch those reaction videos, it's really cool to see these young kids like digging it, rocking out, headbanging.
Right up until the time that we kind of retired, if you want to call it that, because we're still a band, we just don't play live. Our audiences became, as we went through the 2000s, our audiences became a lot more diverse. You do an in-store, you do a meet and greet, and you realize that there's young people there in their teens and early 20s, and half of the crowd is that now. And, the old fogies like me, Yeah, look, I'm getting no me. Okay, not you, me. But in any case, and you too, Mr. 50-year-old. But and no, not you. You're a punk. I'm talking to Stephen. It's interesting to include the people in the room in the interview. But no, it's great to see that it really, a lot of it becomes very universal. And the fact that the whole 80s scene hasn't been forgotten at all, because it's just as big as it was back then, and even more so now, because the festivals around the world, and of course, even after we stopped playing, which was only a few years ago, like I said, before COVID, they were all sold out. So you're talking about everything from 40 or 50,000 all the way up to 120, 130,000 people at a venue seeing this stuff, and we've headlined all of them.
We're right, we're free, we'll fight, say it for me, Bloodstar! God! Louder! Hey!
So it's great stuff. No, it's I don't think it's waning at all. I think it's doing quite well. I think it's very popular, and probably due to the fact that it's kind of good time, good feel stuff. You know, a lot of people have said over the years, an important part is, you know, when I get out of work, I jump in my hot rod car and crank up We're Not Gonna Take It, and I Want to Rock, and Burn in Hell, and all these songs, and Drive Fast. So I guess we're responsible for making all these towns, villages, and cities some money off the speeding tickets that we make people good. No, I've heard people say that. And, you know, they also say, which is big, which is really huge. And this is a moment that I'll be serious about. So many times in our whole careers, especially more in the last 5 or 10 years, and now especially more since we've had such a bad time with COVID, people say that our music takes them out of the doldrums and out of the dumps and kind of makes them feel a little bit better and gets them through some rough times. And that, Mr. Silly, really makes us feel good. It makes me feel good, because the whole mental health thing of our population is starting to deteriorate because of what we're going through. So when people say it makes them feel good, or they'll watch your show or my show or any of these shows that actually talk about good things, they feel good, because after all, you and I, what we're doing, we're entertaining.
Right.
You know? And if people can smile and come away going, you know, that was a lot of fun to see that and listen to that. So, you know, I make sure that most of our shows here, or most of what I do, is live. This way the chat is live and we can talk to them, and it gets people more involved, and they really, you know, are entertained by it. And everybody always says, I felt better after that.
Right
And
on.
that means a lot to me and the people that I work with here. It really does. So if we can help people get through bad times just by giving them some good entertainment, then why not?
What do you want to do with your life?
I want to rock.
Okay, did that sink in, Mr. Damn Silly?
That definitely sunk in, sir. And I do agree. Music's empowering. Twisted's always empowered me since I was like 12, 13 years old, but rocking out to you guys. I used to, you know, sing, you know, whenever I get in trouble, I go in my room, slam the door, play We're Not Gonna Take It, while, you know, giving the finger through the wall to my dad or whatever. But and all the way till now, it still has that same impact on me, where I'm like, empowered.
Bring it to my dad, even through a concrete wall. Even through the wall. Yeah.
That's why I did it when he couldn't see me. Yeah.
Oh, no, my father knew it happened. Hey, did you just raise your middle finger to me? I would never do it, because I'd be afraid that he'd know it.
Yeah, if he could see, yeah, he'd be.
Yeah, he had built-in radar. He had a radar dome going on here.
But yeah, and you know, I do love what you're doing with 22 Now. I watch it as much as I can when it comes up, and always good interviews. You got great people on there. You kind of, you know, talking shop a lot of times, and that must be cathartic too for you during this time. and the COVID era, to just be able to kind of talk shop with guys and hang out in that way.
Oh yeah, when I get like I've had Richard Fudus on from Guns N' Roses and Marco Mendoza, Rudy Sarzo, any number of Joe Franco, all the musicians or people like that, and we talk shop. People love it because they never hear those stories and they never witness any of it. So people love hearing that. And of course, I try not to get too technical because the regular audience won't understand all the things we're talking about. So I try to get people to talk about a little bit of what they do and what their life is about besides the music or even their equipment, but not too deep, because if I started explaining to everybody what was on this pedal board and how it worked, I think probably only Steven would get it.
Right.
You'd love it. But you have to, you're in the middle of it also. You have to keep it interesting to people that are watching, and they have to say, I want to come back and I want to see what they do next, without being raunchy, without being insulting people, without doing any of the things that are going on in the mainstream media these days.
True indeed. And it is a refreshing too to watch.
Absolutely, because when I believe me, I watch enough shows. I've seen your show a bunch of times. You've had some great guests on, and it's handled very well. So, and as like I said, if we're entertaining and people like what you do, then you did your job.
Right on. Yes, sir.
That's what it means. Sure.
Yeah. Are you getting back out there anytime soon now that COVID is starting to, people getting vaccinated and they're opening up again? Do you have any plans to perform?
Well, I play in a number of bands, and I'll have my own solo project out there, but I am not going to. The one thing that I hate, I don't hate anything. Well, maybe I'll hate you after this interview. But, I'm kidding. I don't hate anything. If I do, I don't talk about it. But the one thing that bothers me is I see a bunch of bands releasing things like now, and it's tough to keep a momentum going when you can't play live.
Right.
So, although I am putting something together now, I'm working on it. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a game plan as to when we're really going to release it and when we can start doing some live shows. And that's really what we're waiting for on this side. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's been a long time coming because I was even working on it before COVID. It's just that time, was always getting in the way with other things that I'm doing. So, but it is going to happen. It will come out, and it should be quite interesting to most people, when they hear it and or see some videos that we'll make alongside of it. So yes, but it's rough now. It really is. I feel for artists that put things out right now, and all you could do is virtually see this stuff, and there's no, and it, kind of people lose, not because it's not good, but they lose interest in it because nobody's talking about doing shows or being anywhere, and there's really not many shows even showing this stuff. There's a bunch of podcasts and live TV stuff like we do, but it's a tough one. It really is.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, I feel like we're starting to get back to some kind of normal, things opening up, but I do worry about, new strains and all that stuff. And I don't know how you feel about the vaccine, but I want to get it, but it makes me a little nervous. But
who knows what really works and what doesn't? It's all going so fast. And, is it going to stay around? And now they're talking about it's probably could be only good for about a year and a half, and then it'll weaken, and then new strains will come in, and everybody's susceptible all over again. That's a rough one. I don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know how it's really going to work. We really don't. So, until things come back strong enough, we'll continue. I mean, we're going to do it after that. We'll be here until people don't want to see us anymore.
Well, love what you're doing.
I think people have gotten used to what we do, what you and I do, and what we do here at Area 22 Productions. And I don't think it'll go away anytime soon. I think people will stay with this stuff. I really do, with this type of entertainment.
Yeah, I do too. I think this kind of, like, I don't know if you were using Zoom before all this, but it seems like relatively it was new to me when this whole thing happened, the Zoom and doing shows virtually like this. And I think it's here to stay also. I think people are going to stick with it regardless. Same thing with like people working from home now and all. I think that's gonna be the new standard soon.
Only thing I did was I zoomed around on my motorcycles and hot rod cars. That's all I did.
Exactly.
Pedal here. Does that help at all?
Well, Mark, before I let you go, just tell everybody how they can find you and follow you and watch your show and all that good stuff.
Really? I mean, we're done already?
We can keep going if you want.
Oh, you got a little bit more time. You could do it. I got a few more minutes to go. But you could see, let's see, Mark the Animal Mendoza on Facebook, right? And Mark Mendoza on Facebook, right? And the area22productions.com. You can do all that. Of course, the same stuff on Twitter. And what's the other one? Instagram. Yeah, obviously I don't do this stuff at all. Don't think that if you write in, I won't get the message. I do. I just don't personally look at the stuff at all. I have a great staff that takes care of that for me, but I do get the messages when somebody sends me something important or something needs to be answered. They come right here to the main man and get the answer.
Right on.
Yeah, on the phone. But yeah, it's all available. You know, just get on area22productions.com. Watch us on 22 Now. We have a newer show on Monday nights called Rolling With, which I have a couple of co-hosts with, Rob Rush and Billy Mira, co-hosts, and interview some really interesting people. And we're developing new shows all the time. There'll be new shows coming online. All you got to do is go to area22productions.com. And that'll
Awesome.
tell you everything, and look it up on Facebook, and look up in the sky because we send smoke signals too.
Yeah, you got it all covered. Yep.
Oh yeah, we got every angle covered. You know what? Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It was a great interview, and I'm glad that I came up with a great professional name for you.
Yeah, I love it. Damn silly.
Really, damn silly.
I'm going with it because
you're going to stick with that one.
Yeah, you gave me it, man. Yeah, I love it.
Thanks for having me on, man. It was great. I like the questions, and especially talking about things that a lot of people don't talk about. They don't ask. How many times I get on an interview and goes, "Hey man, how'd you guys get the name?" Really?
Right. Yeah.
About 10,000 times. Really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was fun, man. It was great talking to you. And this is awesome. I'd love to have you on again.
We'll do it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you.
Thanks for paying attention.
Yes, sir.
Talk again soon.
Yes, sir.